I'm excited, fellas. High school football season is finally here.
Again,
the wait is over. Wellston, Ohio. The Rockets are going to host the Oak Hill Oaks tomorrow evening here at home at C.H. Jones Field. I'm excited to get into it, man. It's going to be fun. Guys, to my right, Nathan Molihan, good friend of mine. Another good friend of mine, Jordan Lackey, to my left. We'll be coming at you live every Thursday at 7 p.m. here from the patio. Throughout the year, we're going to have some coach interviews. We'll be featuring some other fall sports and some extracurricular activities. We'll have game break and analysis, all kinds of good content for you. So we are super, super excited. So, guys, what are your thoughts about this? How do we get into doing this?
Well, I think that was your idea. Wasn't it?
Yeah, we're excited to be here. I tell you what, we got a nice crowd here at the patio tonight. Looking forward to putting on a good show for you guys the remainder of the season.
Absolutely. So what'd you tell Jordan the other night? Right place, wrong time.
Yeah.
So, Jordan, glad to have you on board,
Absolutely.
Jordan.
It's an honor to be here.
Definitely going to add a lot of value. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, guys, let's get right into it. This evening we'll have an appearance by Patty Woodruff. She's the head coach of the Wellston cheerleader squad. She's got a few of her captains. We'll bring them up to talk. Coach Chris Graham will stop by later. We'll have an interview with him. He's going to bring his assistant coaches. Hopefully he brings some senior players. So we'll have some more stuff. We're going to do a past player highlight. I think we're all very excited about that.
Yeah.
So before we get into all that, though, let's talk about the matchup tomorrow. There is some history with Oak Hill.
Yeah.
Since we dropped Jackson from our schedule. They're now our cross-county rival. So what's that look like?
So doing some research, I found research back to 2000. So we played, I guess the total games played between Wellston and Oak Hill since 2000 been 14 games. Wellston winning 9 of those and losing 5, which is 64% winning percentage. And then in those games, Oak Hill has averaged 23 points a game, Wellston averaging 35 points a game. And of course, last year was a challenging season for both teams. 1 win for Oak Hill, which came against Wellston. Wellston, of course, didn't have any wins. So it's going to be a challenge. You know, it's going to be exciting to actually see these two programs go back to each other. Jordan, what's your thoughts?
Man, it's always been a battle, no matter how good either team is. It seems like, the kids know each other, so that takes it to another level, you know. So, instead of playing a bigger school that, we're not familiar with, these guys are familiar with each other, and that always is exciting. I know back in my day, the 4 years that we played with them, there were some pretty good games. We came out on top. I think we was 4-0 actually in my 4 years we played. But Oak Hill always comes to play. They're tough. They're usually strong. They're usually in the weight room. And it's and on paper, guys, I tell you what, it's going to be a close game tomorrow night.
It is. You look at the numbers for both teams. They're right around 30 players per team. So right now, coming in tomorrow night, it's going to go down to what we talked about earlier, discipline and then conditioning. Who conditioned the best during summer? And then a diet. Who had the best diet leading up to this Friday night? Because it's not going to be that warm, but the humidity is going to be high. So when the humidity is high, all the players are going to sweat. When they start sweating, they're going to cramp up.
Yep.
And so what team is the better conditioned team, and what team plays the most discipline, I think is going to be the winner of the game, which I'm biased toward Wellston, but I think we're in good position to win this game.
Absolutely. All of our guys, they need to stay away from the fast food and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Eat some good home cooking and treat your body right. And make sure you get hydrated tonight. That's going to be the key.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think, of course, this used to be the Coal Festival Bowl, the Coal Bowl way back in the day.
Yeah.
So even though it wasn't technically a rival game, back when we used to play them, there was a meaning behind it, it seems
Absolutely.
like. So,
yeah, there was a trophy on the line.
Yeah. So now that's a rivalry, it's going to be interesting this year because, like previously mentioned, both teams had a pretty rough season last year. So there's that bitter taste. I got a feeling that both of them are going to be hungry.
Yeah.
The key is just manage your emotions. I think that's a big part of it on top of the conditioning and the discipline. That's part of the discipline.
Exactly.
You always that first series is always a truth teller. You get the nerves out. Once you get that out of the way, you settle down, and let's just play some solid football.
After the season last year both teams had, they're going to be I'm sure they're a little frustrated after last year. So like you said, emotions, how can they stay disciplined because as coaches and as players, a lot of times, we plan for everything to go right. But what you need to plan for when things go wrong, how are you going to respond, and you have to expect things are going to go wrong. Someone's going to jump offside. Someone's going to throw a pick. Someone's going to fumble the ball. Whatever that is, how is a team going to respond to each other? Is a teammate, is one of those leaders going to, I guess, rip another teammate for doing that? Or is he going to pick him up and say, hey, we got this?
You're right on, buddy. I tell you what, it's all about adversity and overcoming. There's not one football play that goes 100% correct. So you're always responding instinctively to what you're taught and the technique that you're taught. All that stuff comes into play on these Friday night games. Maybe in JV and freshman you can get by with a little bit more, but technique and overcoming adversity is a big one, and you hit that right on the head, Nate.
Yeah. So and then of course the players coming out, and then we have first-year head coach Chris Graham, which we're excited about. I think Chris is going to do a good job. We watched the scrimmage last week. We saw a lot of positive things, and the one thing I think we saw a lot is better body language. You know, the guys were playing hard and had a great body language.
Absolutely. I would, just from my perspective, I mean, I tell you what, there's a lot of kind of things last year with the coach and stuff that, you know, kind of transpired, and that hurts us a little bit.
Really
and I
does.
tell you what, we got a lot more security this year with Coach Graham and what he brings to the table. And I was fortunate enough to coach with him for 2 years, and I know what he's capable of. So, and I know that he's going to put time in the weight room. And I tell you what, that's a good place to start.
That's huge. That's huge.
Absolutely.
If you look back at the dominant teams coming out of the late 90s into the early 2000s, that was the difference.
Oh, yeah.
Those guys lived in the weight room. We had a stable that was 5 or 6 deep for several years at running back. And all these guys were 180 plus.
Right.
They all ran sub 11 500-meter dashes. I mean, these were absolute freaks.
And not
so
to
that
mention,
weight room's a big difference.
And not to mention that we won, I think, 2 state championships in powerlifting.
Right.
And I think I was state runner-up 1 year also. So in the 4 years that I was there, we were state champions twice, and I think state runner-up once.
That
That goes a long ways out there on the field.
Well, of course, a lot of programs too. You know, if you're a dominant program, if you're a traditional powerhouse program, a lot of folks from the outside looking in don't understand what that takes. It takes commitment in the off season. It takes getting up at 6:30 in the morning before school and going and working out. You know, it takes that commitment, not missing. You know, and trying to eat right, hold your teammates accountable, and that's what builds a program. And I think Coach Graham's got a good core of guys that's going to help him do that, the players and the coaches. So, you know, with him being a hometown guy, I think he's going to get the opportunity to be here for a while, and I think he'll do a good job. He's getting some good coaches around him. And then, of course, the middle school guys, you got Ricky Fleming coaching, and then, of course, my son Rylan Molihan's helping him coach. So that's a lot of other programs that you see are good.
Keeping that same system too
Continuity.
throughout the levels.
Continuity, yeah.
Running that same stuff. You know, if you get your kids running that in Biddy League,
right,
and then they get to junior high, it's just that much easier to pick up new stuff as they get on throughout high school. And
exactly right. And I tell you too, the middle school program is so overlooked a lot of times in most programs because they kind of get lost in the mix. But that's probably your most important program in the whole mix, because that's where you get every year. You're hoping as an 8th grade coach to give your high school coach 10 to 15 players every year. And if you can do that, then your numbers will be up on the varsity levels.
Yeah.
And then teaching, if we can get consistency, like you guys were talking, teaching the system, and then of course the little technique things. As they get into high school, they're going to know how to play football.
Yeah, it's going to make the high school coach's job a lot more easier. I'll tell you that.
Well, because realistically in middle school, any fundamental deficiencies need to be corrected there. Because if you don't, then you're set back once you get to that next level.
Any good football program they run the same stuff. The varsity runs the same stuff as their Biddy League.
Right.
If you look at it, any successful school out there, that's what they do.
Yep.
And there's a reason for that.
They're getting that continuity, and then also, you know, Coach Graham, of course, this is his first season coming up, so there's a lot for him to do. But you got to have small, goals.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so we know the one thing I know he's going to do. Of course, I coached with him. My very first coaching.
That's where you started.
Yeah, it was down the Pee Wee program. You know, I coached with him. Like you said, I saw how hard he worked, and I saw the dedication he put in that program, and it got me excited about wanting to be a coach. And so I think Coach Graham, knowing how important that Pee Wee program, because he spent a lot of years down there, that'll just roll into the middle school program and then a varsity program. And we have a really good Pee Wee program. We got a lot of numbers out this year.
Yeah, being in that position for him, he knows, hey, these kids need to know this stuff at this age, because if you're teaching them something different, that going up through the junior high, middle school, all that, learning a new system every year is tough for a kid.
Right.
It's kind of discouraging,
Yeah, it is.
It's a lot to learn.
Yeah, a lot of folks.
Or if you have a new football coach every year, if you got a new program, new defensive system, it's tough.
New terminology. I mean, people don't understand how hard that is to learn every year.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is. Even though it may be the same offense,
Yeah.
defense, totally different terms and tag words. So yeah, our kids have definitely had a challenge, and I'm excited that Coach Graham will get an opportunity to stay here for a while.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And all that stuff will end up being instinctual. It'll just come. They won't have to think. It'll just snap right into it.
Yep.
Hopefully.
That's the way it
That's
needs
what
to
we're
be.
shooting for.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, on paper, guys, these teams are pretty even.
Yeah.
Down
They
to
are.
the number of players on the roster. the numbers of seniors are only different by one.
Well, we got 5 seniors at Wellston. Oak Hill's got 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's pretty close. I think the biggest difference you'll see is just a style of offense. I think you'll see a lot more run out of Wellston. But based on the scrimmage, though, we do throw a little bit, keep people honest. I will say that Oak Hill is loaded with outside speed. They have a player, senior Garrett McInnes, runs about an 11.2, 11.3 in a 100-meter dash. He's a wide receiver. Their senior quarterback is a gunslinger, so they'll try to throw. So if Wellston can stay disciplined on the outside, outside contain was something that we talked about when we were watching the scrimmage. It's easy when you're, of course, we run a 3-5-3 base defense. You have to have extremely good gap discipline with your linebackers.
You do.
And if those guys on the outside get sucked in, it's all over. It's all over but the crying. So that's something that I'm interested to watch defensively is how well can Wellston match up against outside speed, because they'll see it against Oak Hill. Now, I don't know that Oak Hill will run as well. We may have some success there. But that's definitely one of my big question marks is how well can our defense stack up against that outside pressure.
Offensively, I think Johnny Scott is going to be the key to us. Of course, he's a quarterback. He's a senior this year.
Much improved from last year.
Yeah. Watching his body language, I really was impressed with his game last week. I didn't get to watch the Rock Hill game, but that's what I want to see out of him because he has he has a lot of ability. But as that quarterback and as that leader, especially rebuilding like this, the team's really going to depend on him to be a leader out there. The coaching staff can't be out there. He's got to be that leader. And there's a lot of good leaders on that team, but Johnny's got to be the guy out there because everyone's looking up to that quarterback.
Right.
And then not only does he got to be a leader, he has the ability to throw the ball and run the ball. So with that threat, then you have Kel Fott to throw the ball to. Kel's a great athlete coming up. He's
very
a junior.
nice target.
Yeah. And we got a couple nice running backs.
Yes.
Lamberts.
Yep.
And so we have a really good team. I think depth's going to be an issue, but I think we can do some damage.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing, though, is when you're so evenly matched, they face the same challenges. They're going to have depth issues. They're going to have guys getting gassed late third, early fourth quarter. So they're
going to make mistakes.
Right. Who wants it more? Who wants it more? I do think one of the strengths that we have, and you kind of alluded to it a second ago, is a split running back system. We've got junior Seth Lambert, sophomore Josh Clarkson. You're going to see 2 different style of backs here. Seth is a little bit bigger built, so you're going to see more of a straight downhill run game out of him. Clarkson, if he gets in space, look out because he can juke your shoes off.
Thunder and lightning.
Yes.
Let's go.
So, and he did, during the scrimmage, we saw a good rotation of those 2, pretty much even split on carries. So I'm excited to see how it goes.
Me too. I'm really excited.
I think both those boys can carry the football if we need them to. I tell you what. And Johnny, like Nathan said, Johnny's got a lot of talent. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do this year.
Yeah.
Get out there in some open space and he can make some plays, I think. You know?
And this is his senior year, and he owes it to himself.
Absolutely.
Junior. Johnny's a junior.
Oh, he's a junior?
He's a junior.
I thought he was a senior.
So nope, we'll get him
That's
back
even
one
better.
more year.
That's even better, yeah.
So this is where
Exciting.
he just starts getting into his experience level now, and he's a bigger body kid. And the good thing, in my opinion, we're in a good situation when it comes to quarterbacks.
He's wearing a good number too, I'll tell you that.
Right. We're in a good situation when it comes to quarterbacks because if something happens, he can't finish out. Justin Jackson is more than capable.
Yes,
he's
he is.
working with tight ends right now, so he's getting some playing time.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see where things go.
Also, he's playing tight end.
Tight end,
First string tight end.
Bennett Yadrnicek. They moved him to tight end now.
We have some good
he's a senior.
athletes.
So, we've got some tools,
Some
guys.
nice targets.
Well, listen, we got to take a little bit of a break here. We'll come back right at you here in just a minute.
All right.
Good job, boys. I didn't know. See, I didn't even know.
Okay, guys, we are back here live at the Patio in Wellston, Ohio. Before we go any farther, I do want to send a special shout out to Keith and Wendy Henry here at the Patio for putting this on. Like I said, we'll be live here every Thursday, so come out, hang out with us, have some good food, drinks. It's all happening right here, man.
Charlie Mannering going to be singing live Saturday night on the Patio.
Yes.
I tell you what, I've heard a lot about Charlie over the years. And the first time I got to hear him sing was a couple weeks ago. Wow, it was impressive. Very impressed.
Yep.
The guy can sing anything. So you're looking for a great
Extremely
time.
talented, Charlie Mannering, man. I
and
tell
he's
you what.
fun.
He
Yeah,
has
he's-
been playing
he's fun.
for since we was in school, and I'm telling you, he just keeps getting better and better. He really does.
Awesome. Yeah, I've known Charlie for a long time,
Yeah.
man. He's been doing it a while. So yeah, if you get a chance to come, that's Saturday night.
Yeah, Saturday night.
Saturday night, come down and see Charlie Mannering. We're going to get going with the show here, guys. We have with us today, we're happy to have Patty Woodruff. She is the head coach of the Wellston cheerleader squad. Patty, are you out there? We're going to have Patty come down. We'll ask her a few questions. She also has 3 of her senior cheerleader captains here. We're going to let them talk a little bit. So we're excited. We thank them for coming down. I know it's this early in the season. There's a lot of time commitments and things going on. So, Patty, I tell you what, why don't you take a seat down here at the end of the table, and then when you're done, we'll call each of these girls one at a time.
Hey, Patty.
Hi.
Thanks again. I know it's not everybody likes doing interviews, getting in front of the camera. But how long have you been coaching cheerleading now?
I've been here for 5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Successful program. Proud to say my daughter's a part of it.
Yes. I love Hannah.
Yeah, Hannah, she's a sophomore. But you got some seniors here with us tonight. Tell us about them. How's your senior
We
class?
have my 3 captains here: Jasmine Porter, Cameron Womendorf, and Belle Moeller.
So we're excited to talk to them here in a little bit.
And Patty, you have had some success.
We're going
with
to scoot the mic towards you
competition.
because we're having a little bit of
I'm
trouble
sorry.
hearing you. Nope,
Here
that's
we go.
okay.
Could you repeat those again, Patty?
I have my 3 captains here: Jasmine McQuarter, Cameron Womendorf, and Belle Moeller.
Awesome.
And if you've had some success over the years with competitions, things like that.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that? Was it this past off season you guys competed in? Or
No, so we haven't competed in the past few years since COVID.
yeah.
My seniors this year, they won the nationals with the
Okay.
one down in Virginia Beach. I think that was the last competition they went to, and that was their 8th grade year. So COVID put a halt
Keeping
on
it
quite a
G,
bit of stuff.
keeping it G-rated. How tough is it to coach cheerleaders?
That's a loaded question.
No, I know she loves it because she does every year.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
we have a wonderful love-hate relationship.
You do a great
Don't we,
job.
girls?
Wouldn't happen any other way.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you that are watching and can't see these girls on camera, they're at least smiling, so it can't be all bad. Something I wanted you to talk about a little bit for us. Of course, as guys, we don't know a lot about cheerleading, but because my daughter's involved in it now. You guys have added stunting.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes. So we were recently this year got the TVC approved stunting. So we have been working really hard with different camps, which Matt knows a lot about
Yeah.
because I just sent his wife a link for another one for this October.
Hey,
So we've been
You want
working
to
really
start a
hard.
GoFundMe for Matt Petersen and Hannah Petersen for just joking.
Cheer is expensive. We've been to conditioning. They love it when my husband comes in. We did an OSU camp. We did Cheer Ohio, 2 different Cheer Ohio camps. We brought in Kelsey, who's a former Wilson High School cheerleader, who now coaches All-Star.
Okay, we are back once again live at the Patio, Grubs and Suds in downtown Wellston, Ohio. Good to be here. Thanks again to Keith and Wendy for putting this on.
It's a
They've
beautiful
done a
night.
great job with the place. I said this after the last break. I'll say it again. We'll be here every Thursday at 7 o'clock. It'll be live. So if you get a chance, come down and hang out with us. We'll have some coaches and players here just about every week. Throughout the year, we'll do some league updates,
Right.
Some game recaps. We'll do some player analysis. Hopefully, do some play walkthroughs.
Right.
Really give you guys some good material. See these old guys out there reliving the glory days.
We're just trying to get through episode 1 without getting fired.
Right.
Episode 1. So it'll be more fluid as we move along, and so we're excited. But the patio out here is just beautiful. The weather's nice. I
Yes.
mean, there's just
Yep.
overcast. And if you haven't come out here and tried the patio lately, they've updated their menu. They've updated their staff. They've really added a lot to the patio. You really need to come out and try it. It is a great environment.
Really nice spot.
Yep.
It is.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking around for Belle Moeller.
She just
She went to
inside.
get food or a drink for somebody.
I think she got some drinks for us, actually. But
Well,
She might have because we're pretty parched.
So
I think Keith had him actually. Yeah.
No water for the
there's
guys.
Bell coming out right
There's
now.
Bell.
The
Bell,
food's-
come and have a seat at the end of the table.
I'll hold your debit card for you.
Well, if it's Patty's, just hey, give it to the bartender. Put it on the tab.
Welcome.
Hi.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Senior year,
It is.
doing this a while.
Yeah,
The most veteran stunter,
I am.
and I hear you got a big personality. Is that
Oh,
true?
yeah, the biggest.
There you go. How do the younger kids take to that?
Well, you lead by example, so they kind of follow in your footsteps.
You hope, right?
Yeah.
So, and of course, because Hannah's in it, I've also heard that you're kind of like a almost a third coach.
I am the third coach. Definitely. I can tell you, like, where I've done it for so long. If I see something, I can immediately tell you what's wrong with it, where I've done it for so long.
I was going to elaborate on that. So when you say you lead by example, kind of give us some examples of what you do.
So basically, if I slack off or if I have a bad attitude, everyone else, like if I'm not happy, nobody's happy is
Yeah.
pretty much. So I really have to be the one to like uplift people, and I
gotta
can't
bring it.
Yeah, I can't slack off or everyone else will slack
Yeah.
off pretty much.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and how important is it to you or to the team for good leadership like that?
It's crucial because sometimes, especially with stunting or tumbling, they need an extra push, and like sometimes you have to put in like the extra work so other people do it. So like that, practicing at home, taking extra lessons, going to other things and like pushing people, like staying on them, even if like they find it annoying, you really just have to keep pushing them.
So do you find them more receptive to you because of your work ethic? When you
Yes.
say, hey, you need to put a little more time in, work a little harder.
Yeah.
Because the results, they see your results.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh man, she's putting that work in, and look what she's able to do. I want to do that like her.
That's pretty much how it goes. Like tumbling lessons, if I go, like I'll ask people if they want to ride with me, like that type of thing. Like I found a clinic for us to go to in October, and I've been pushing for everyone to go. So
Good.
we go into a UK clinic in October.
Nice.
That's great.
Awesome.
Nice.
That should be an awesome experience.
Well, I'll
fun.
tell you, we can tell you've got high energy,
Definitely.
and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
you-
Good energy. Good high energy.
Do you think that plays a part in keeping these girls from suffering burnout? Because I know that's something you hear about in all these other sports. Guys get halfway into the
Yeah.
football season, they're beat up. Basketball, your knees start hurting after
You
a
can
while.
tell she's got a passion. I
Right.
think that's kind of everybody feeds off that.
Right.
Well, I think that comes from All Stars, where I've done it since I was younger. You have routines and stuff, and you have like people getting like physically dropped on you, or you're not landing, you're tumbling, and you're trying to give it all, but like you hear a voice from like the sideline saying like reminding you things to do, like lift up or like set, like that type of thing, like finish it out, because it really just helps you in the long run. I definitely agree with when you have that cheerleader on your side to really push you through.
So over the years, I've watched you at the basketball games, especially do the flips. Everyone
Yeah.
counting. So what's the most flips you've done at one time without wiping out?
Like handspring wise, like
Yeah.
in a row,
Yeah.
I'd say 10 and then like end it in a tuck. I used to be able to,
I start running out of room.
I do, and my head starts spinning, so after I land it, you'll see me like looking around the room and I'll start seeing stars, but it gets the crowd pumped up, and I always hear the student section yelling at me to do a flip, so you gotta do what you gotta do to get everyone pumped up.
Yeah, you got to give your customers what they want, for sure.
Sounds like we
Yes.
got a good leader out there.
Thank you.
That's it. Well, you guys do a fantastic job. Thanks for hanging out with us. What do you got going on after school? What are your plans?
Like after high school?
After high school, yep.
So I'm looking to cheer in college, so I'm looking at different universities to cheer at. I'm looking at OU. I've had multiple talks with the OU coach about furthering my career. I'm looking at Coastal Carolina for cheerleading. I'm looking at Ohio State, different places, but I plan to become a lawyer.
Oh.
Yes,
Nice.
perfect
The high
for me.
energy
So
will
I
definitely
plan
come into
to
play.
be in school for 7 years and a major in political science. And then once I'm old enough, so in my 30s or 40s, I'm gonna run for the House of Representatives and work at the state building.
Wow.
And yeah, so that's what I want to do. I want to be a representative for one of the counties in Ohio to pass bills.
So I think what you're starting, your walk talks louder than your talk. So you lead by example.
Yeah.
So don't forget that when you make it, to where you're going to make it, which I believe you will, remember, always remember that lesson you've been teaching these younger generation, that, keep your integrity in check. Remember where you come from.
Yeah,
Good
I
luck to
definitely
you.
agree.
Well, Belle, thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for
Good
having
luck. We
me.
look forward to watching you guys this year.
Thank you.
Best luck in your senior year.
Thank you.
Take your coach's debit card back to her.
Okay. She might want that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, guys. Well, this is the next part of the show here. We're pretty excited about this. Something that we wanted to do pretty much every episode, I think, is to do a past player highlight. And I think it was kind of a no-brainer on which direction we were going to go for this one. Most of them will be positive, and hopefully we'll have some of them come on here and maybe talk to them with us. But unfortunately, we can't do that with this one. Of course, this week's episode is going to feature Brad Young. Brad unfortunately passed away as a result of a tree trimming accident back in March. Of course, we all knew Brad. I played with Brad in Little League the first year the Patriots were in town with Kevin Pattersen and those guys. Jordan, you played a couple years with him. Of course, Nate, you knew him personally.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a very sad story, but Brad was a very, very special player. Before we get into having a roundtable discussion just about our stories about Brad, I want to read off some stats. These are pretty mind-blowing. Brad Young had 3 1,000-yard seasons at Wellston. His sophomore year, he rushed for 1,058 yards. Junior year, rushed for 1,819. And his senior year, 2,019 yards. He's the only player in school history to rush 3 times for 1,000 yards. He's the only player to rush for 2,000 yards. He has the most TDs in a season at 37. He had 30 rushing touchdowns, 3 receiving touchdowns, 3 kickoff returns, and a punt return for a touchdown. He has the most TDs for a career. We're not sure what that number is. They're still working on compiling those numbers, but we know he holds the school record for that. He, of course, has the single-season rushing record 2019. He has the career rushing record at 5,678 yards. That's piling it up, guys. That's over a mile on the ground. He was all-TVC for 3 years. He was all-district first team for 2 years. He was he had 1 district offensive player of the year. He was all-state first team 2 years. He was 11th in rushing in the state his junior year, 8th in total touchdowns. Tied for 5th in the state in TDs his senior year, 8th in rush yards.
Wow.
So those are the state numbers are unofficial, but that's the best I could come up with. This guy knew how to play the game of football.
He did, man. I tell you what, I'm lucky to be able to spend 2 years in the same locker room as this guy, because, man, like growing up, he was special growing up. He could have put any uniform on, any sport, and went out there and dominated. But I tell you what, man, he was special. I remember, coming into halftime, and his locker was right beside mine. So, I'm like looking at this kid as a freshman, and I'm looking at him like, man, this guy's different. Every one of us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
But he was part of that weight room culture. And of course,
Yeah.
Larry Blackstone was the
Yep,
coach
Coach
back
Blackstone.
then. Had those guys
Yep.
in the weight room when they were in 7th grade.
Yep.
And he wasn't the only one. I mean, he played with some talented guys. Chris Hutchison was in that group.
Absolutely.
Later on, Thomas Mays,
Yeah.
Rex Harrell. I mean, so
Yep.
you had some players.
Yep.
But you're right. I remember playing Little League ball with Brad. We were, at that time, nobody believes this, we were similar in speed, but he could see the field different. It was literally like a high school mind playing amongst little kids.
He was 2 steps ahead.
All the
it was
time.
Just,
Well, the game, of course, if they punted to him, they knew it was going to go back. He was going to run it back. So watching him catch a kickoff or a punt was so fun because, like you said, he could see the field. He was a man among men out there. He's like, just the way he stood tall when he ran that ball. I don't know. He was very special.
he was what, 6'1" maybe?
Yeah.
But when he stood up with them pads, he looked like he's about 6'4", 260 pounds. You know what I mean? And he ran like a deer.
Yeah.
Or a cheetah.
Big
I
guy.
guess.
Well, to put it into perspective, a few years later, the NFL drafted a guy that everybody knows named Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson, 6'1",
Yeah.
217. Brad 6'2", 215. So
Honestly, they're very, very close comparison.
similar body types. Adrian Peterson's 40 time at the NFL Combine was 4'4". Now, Brad told me in a conversation when they got him on a laser clock at OU his freshman year, he ran a 4.37.
I can see that.
This is a very talented guy. Of course, we saw him run track. In high school, he was running a 100-meter dash, and I think about 11.3, 11.2.
I'm pretty sure they qualified for state 4x4 team or
Yes,
something like that
yes.
too. They had a
Yes.
lot of success in track.
I was talking
Hutch and all those guys
with his mom over the summer, and actually this past spring, and you guys remember the name Maurice Claret.
Yes.
He was in the same class as Maurice, and they met up at I think an OSU camp, and he raced Maurice outran Maurice. Maurice could fly.
Yeah.
And we all know the history behind Maurice.
Yeah.
So the ability and the talent that Brad had was just next level.
Yeah.
I mean, just unheard of.
It was, and he played both sides of the ball. He played outside linebacker and he played tailback, and I was lucky enough my sophomore year to play right behind him and Thomas Mays and Lance Phillips and all these guys. And I mean, I tell you what, man, it was something that I did not have to make that many tackles. I'll tell you that, because I had some studs in front of me. Let me tell you.
Well, and that'll kind of take me to kind of a more somber point is, we all know Brad's struggles, and that Brad, the mental aspect of this, the pressure of being an athlete like him, had a lot of pressure on him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
When you're in a small town, you're like a hero, you're like a god to these little kids. So you've got to keep up the persona, and then when you get to that next level, you want to perform because you don't want to let everyone down at home. But then there's so much mental stress and mental battles I think that Brad went through that a lot of people didn't know about. That kind of had him in the position that he was in. And so I think that's important for all of us to kind of recognize. The lesson we can learn from that is don't ever assume everything's all right.
Yeah.
For players to talk to coaches, coaches to talk to players, parents to talk to players, and just have the outlet to talk, because we can all, we're all just one bad decision away from being in a bad situation. No. But the great thing is Brad had made a great change. Brad
never quit.
Oh yeah,
no quitting.
Yeah, he had made a turn in his life and for the best, and so it's a great story.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. The city of Wellston's lucky to witnessed Brad Young out there on the football field. I'll tell you right now.
And of course, he had several other varsity letters in other sports. So this guy was an athlete, and I'll tell you a baseball story about him. We were playing Pony League ball, and we were player short, just spur of the moment, looking for people we could call. Coach Timmy Dyson was coaching our team back then. And Tim said,
I want to take a second while we mentioned Timmy's name. We're thinking about you, Timmy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Definitely.
Timmy, we hope you get well. Best of luck to you.
Yep.
Timmy's looking for
Sorry,
people to. No, that's okay.
Yep.
Timmy's looking for people to call. Somebody says, "Well, hey, listen, Brad hadn't played in a while. Let's call him." So Brad Young shows up in a pair of jean shorts and tennis shoes. I kid you not. First at bat, second pitch, he launches one about 360 out of left center. I said, I mean, who does that? This kid hasn't swung a bat in forever. Comes off the couch.
If he would have wanted
15
to play,
years
if he
old,
would have wanted to play baseball, there ain't no doubt in my mind that guy could have went and played
threw
pro
hard,
baseball.
through mid 80s, low. I mean, this kid was
he was a
good
natural
athlete.
talent, man.
Like you said, Jordan, whatever uniform he put on, he was good.
Yeah.
When he would come back and would play basketball till junior high, a few years after he graduated, I remember running into him on a screen, and he put me on my back pretty easy.
Yeah. He could have averaged 18 rebounds a game in basketball if he wanted to. You know what I mean?
He was just on another level.
That's what kind of player he was.
Yep. So we thought that would be a good one to set the tone for our player highlights. Send a message out to Connie and Brandy and the rest of the Young family. Certainly praying for you, for your comfort. I know that wasn't that long that Brad passed, so we miss him. I know you guys miss him more than we could ever imagine. So we're praying for you. With that, I think we're going to take another break real quick. Mike, does that sound good? We'll take a break and be right back with a TVC preview.
Yeah, this
You good, Coach? We'll go longer. Okay, we're back live here at the Patio, Grubs and Suds in Wellston. Glad to have Coach Chris Graham.
Glad to be here.
Awesome.
Welcome,
Just finished
Coach.
the walkthrough.
Just finished walkthrough and team meal.
Okay.
Yep, it was a good time. Earlier today, we did a little bowling, a little team bonding at the bowling alley for 2 hours, and we had our team meal at 5, and walk through at 6, and the kids really enjoyed it. So
Awesome.
Good time.
Well, we're going to do a little bit of an interview with you here, but before we do that, we're going to do a TVC preview. Just kind of talk about the league, what that might look like. I got a few numbers here. I think we're all in consensus, or most of the community's in consensus that Nelsonville's kind of got a stranglehold on this thing right now.
They do, I think. Just I think they're favored just because they won it last year and the previous year. But Vinton County's coming on. They're making a run. Obviously, Coach Carper's done a good job up there. Coop also doing a nice job at River Valley.
Yeah, they've got some numbers this year. Finally,
yes, they do have numbers. They're up to like 35 or 36.
Right,
That's good. To hear.
Yeah, it is. Then you have Alexander. Alexander's got their quarterback's coming back. I mean, he's throwing dimes. He can throw the ball around the field.
Jordan Schultz.
Jordan Schultz.
Yeah, he was
And
impressive to watch last year.
He's a good quarterback. I mean, he's got all the tools. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I know Nelsonville has a starting quarterback that is probably going to run like a deer. We watched this kid in track, Makai Williams, runs about an 11.2, and he's a built kid, man. He's 6'1", about 195.
The more you talk about him, the more he scares me. I'll tell you what.
We faced him in baseball.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays second base and shortstop, and he's fast on the field there too.
And he's an athlete, and they're senior heavy. You got a running back senior, Gavin Richards. You probably see his name a lot. Wide receiver Bailey Phillips, junior Landon Inman. So they have some athletes on offense.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of why they're viewed as the dominant until somebody unseats them.
And depth.
Right.
And
of course,
depth too.
now this will get interesting because Vinton County could, with their numbers, make a legitimate shot.
Right.
I just, with the athletics, I'm not sure how they stack up. I know we expect a big year out of Garrett Brown.
Yeah.
Garrett Brown's coming back off a 1,200-yard season last year. So
TVC Offensive Player of the Year last year. Garrett's a good kid. He's strong. The one thing that Vinton County, of course, they got numbers and they've got all kind of excitement around the program. They got a lot of seniors this year with a lot of experience. So I expect them to probably, if I had to guess, unseat Nelsonville for the TVC this year. They got a really good thing going up there. But
I
think on paper they're pretty double close.
Yeah.
Honestly.
different styles of offense.
Yeah.
there's a lot of good players up there, a lot of good kids. Of course, they got Coach Phillips added to the coaching staff. That'll help them out there a little bit because Coach Carper, I think, with his lack of experience in years as a head coach, he does a great job. But I think Coach Phillips will be a good offset for him for the wisdom and experience there. So that'll just help him over the years.
Absolutely.
That'll be exciting.
So Alexander has a new head coach,
Yes.
former player, Tyler Davis. He's 29.
I met him this
Okay.
week at Gridiron Glorious past Sunday.
Yep.
Nice guy. He'll do some good things there.
Yeah.
He'll do some good things.
Of course, as you mentioned, they got a senior quarterback.
Yes.
Coming back. They got some receiver talent. One of the kids to keep an eye on, Logan Jenkins, he's coming back off of an ACL tear. So he had some speed. If you remember, he got to play some last year. Alex Jeffrey. So this will be another passing team. Not probably looking to run quite as much as some. I don't know that they can get into challenging Vinton County, Nelsonville into that top tier yet. Meigs maybe. Meigs returns a lot.
You just never know. I mean, things are wide open in our league.
Yeah.
I think, Nelsonville's favorite, but everybody has those days. I think anybody can beat anybody on any given day. That's why we play the games.
Play the game.
Injury bug takes effect at some turn anyway. So you never know. That's why, like I said, that's why you play the game. If you're asking me, as a first-year head coach of football, I've been a head coach of other sports, but I'm putting us in the mix. I'm not setting us short. I think our kids are well prepared and ready to go to compete for a title, just as any other teams in the league.
We were talking about watching that scrimmage last week, and just the difference, first of all, in the body language from the players, which is big, and just the ability you guys have some big-time playmakers. Of course, you got Johnny at quarterback, which he's got has a good ability to run the ball, throw the ball. You got Kel out there on the edge, which Kel's going to be a mismatch for just about anybody. You got two great running backs back there, and your line is doing a phenomenal job. And the defense played well. Like I said, every mistake that we made last week was correctable mistakes. And I think the only thing that's going to happen, of course, is just the depth. If you guys stay healthy, I think we can definitely put your name in the mix.
That's the thing. If you watch the films, we're a block away from getting a 10-yard to a 30-yard.
Right.
And there's a bunch of those on film. And the kids, and they see that now, and they understand it, and they're getting better. So it's those little things that we always talk about, and any football coach will. It's the small things, and that's one thing that's helped me out was military, because the military is all about details.
Right.
You always got to be detailed in what you do. So I kind of use that mentality in the kids, and like I said, I'm sure all football coaches do, because it's that small thing that matters. That little block that the receiver didn't do, or that he should have done that would have sprung it for a touchdown.
Right.
That he didn't do. So they see that, and we're correcting those mistakes, and the kids they're pretty excited. I have to say they are pretty excited to get the year started.
Well, they seem to have bought in. That's something he and I talked about. Is you can just tell the atmosphere is a little bit different in a good way. Of course, as you know, once you go through an 0-10 season, eventually that becomes a culture. That becomes a mindset. What are some things that you've done to kind of make these kids believe that say, hey, this is possible?
Well, last year they got to coach late, and so I'm not going to sit here and pass judgment on those coaches.
Absolutely.
It was just kind of unfortunate circumstance. Got to coach late, so we lacked in the weight room. And one thing this year, when they got us hired, that I was right to work in the weight room, and getting the coaching staff together. Coach Briggs, who's now the head basketball coach, Coach Mantell, who's also a teacher, John Seitz. We also have Mike Lambert and Ricky Woodruff. So we're all recruiting the hallways. Me, Mantell, and Briggs at the school were recruiting the hallways. Numbers were up. Kids were excited. Kids are calling me, come into classrooms, asking when practices are, when's lifting. That's the first step. And we ran 2 weightlifting. We had lifting in the morning at 5 o'clock, and then we had lifting after school at 3:30. And we were averaging probably around 28 in total.
It's pretty good.
So, and we had about 14 in the mornings, and the other half were in the afternoons. Then some would double up. So it was a good thing. And then
And you got 34 players.
34,
That's pretty good numbers.
yes.
I mean, you're almost 80%, 85% there probably.
so last year we ended the season with 23 or 24, I think. So numbers are up. Now we got there were some other kids that come out this year, and unfortunately they just didn't want to stay with us. They had other agenda to do, so that was fine. But we got 34 solid football players that are ready to play, and we're pretty excited about it.
Awesome. We're definitely excited. I think you're poised to get over the Oak Hill hump. Let's get that first one out of the way.
Oh yeah, game by game.
That's it.
One at a time.
So, Coach, I kind of wrote this down that way I didn't get have a habit of getting off track here. So, first of all, Coach, I want to thank you for coming out tonight. You and your staff. I know you guys are busy. This is your busy time of year. So, thanks for coming out. And I'd like to say thank you again. Like we talked about on the phone earlier, you gave me my first opportunity to coach people football. And I've been in love with football ever since. Well, I love football, but coaching football, I think there's not a better job out there than coaching football. So thank you for that. And as many of us know, you're no stranger to the athletic programs here in Wellston. You've, correct me if I'm wrong, but you started coaching Pee Wee football way back in the early 2000s. You've coached middle school football, varsity basketball, you've coached varsity baseball, and numerous other sports. You're a great athlete in high school. Then you went, like you said earlier, you went in the Navy, served our country. Thank you for that. And then, you've always been a competitor, and sports has always been a major part of your life. So I know there's probably not many sports out there that you wouldn't enjoy coaching, but I know the passion that you have for football, and I can only imagine how you must have felt when you got that phone call that you were the head coach. So I want to say congratulations to you, Coach, and best wishes for you for your program. And
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
And so I just got a couple questions here real quick. So, as a first-time head coach, you've coached a lot, but you've never been a varsity head coach of football. So that's difficult. So as a first-time head varsity football coach, and not to mention almost completely new staff, there's going to be some challenges. And the average fan, they want wins now. It's just like, but they don't understand what takes. So with that being said, the person doesn't understand that wins don't always define success. And so can you give us a few examples of some short-term and long-term goals that you defined as success?
Right. So, we're trying to increase the numbers. That's our number one thing. With football is a game of numbers. So we have to have numbers. We got to get our numbers up above 40. That's our goal. We want 40 to 50 players to be a solid football team. If you look around Jackson, I think they probably got close to 70. Your Irontons, your winning program, Ironton's got about 70, 80, maybe 100 players. So those winning programs, if you look at their numbers, obviously winning brings the numbers too, because everybody wants to be part of a winner. But it's even more fun to build a winner.
Yeah, that's right.
That's even more fun.
Exactly. Right.
So definitely increasing our numbers and
getting our freshman team.
No,
freshman.
I think we're going to have one next year. I think we got 15 eighth graders this year.
That's good.
Our eighth grade team. Good. So, and over the long term, just be competitive. We want to be competitive in every game.
Right.
Doesn't matter who you're playing.
Right.
We want to be competitive. Yeah. And I thought we lost a little bit of that competitiveness the last couple of years. I don't think we've been competitive. And weeks 2, 3, and 4, for us or a different ball game.
Right.
So, we're looking to be competitive, and then maybe steal a game here or there. That's what we're kind of
Start
doing.
some practice,
Right.
competing with each other, and
Like you said, it's little
that
things.
builds.
And the long term is commitment. The commitment is big.
Right. That's good. So, okay, so once you got the job and you, of course, it kind of all sunk in, what was one of the biggest challenges that surprised you, like that maybe you didn't realize going into the job?
Well, like I said, that's the commitment portion
Yeah.
of it. Everybody talks about commitment, and everybody wants to win, but to win, you got to put in the work.
Right.
And, I've been trying to show these guys, if you want to win, it's easy to say you want to win, but you got to be in the weight room. You got to be doing the little things that winners do. Winners do winning things.
Yeah, there's a price to pay.
There's a
Feel
price
good.
to pay on and
Yeah.
off the field. Right. It's in the classrooms, in academics. It's, it's at the weight room. If it's, going out and serving in the community to do things. Because I'm a big community guy. I love to take my team out, pick up trash for the city, or, when I coach basketball, we was reading books to the middle school kids. We were doing
huge.
toy drives. We was doing Easter baskets for the, needy and things like that. So, I'm being a servant for the community, and I'm trying to rub that off on our kids, and they like doing that also.
Yeah.
So they were
Also,
all
I think-
excited about tonight when they invite for the seniors to come over. Of course, they were all pretty pumped up to get over here. So
I think the community outreach is huge because if we want a community buy into the program, we got to show the community that we're bought into the community. So I think you're doing a good thing by that. So just one more question, Coach, and I'll quit asking my question. So on the flip side of that, we just talked about your biggest challenge. So what was your biggest surprise, like a good surprise, like, hey, oh, wow, this is good. So coming to this season.
as far as me, when I become the head coach, I wanted to make sure that I was detailing my practice plans, make sure everything was scheduled, so I could direct them in the directions. Because you kind of lost sometimes in practice. So I want to make sure everything, like most coaches do, they schedule it down to the dime.
Right.
So that was one thing that I wanted to make sure that I had going. Then I wanted to make sure that I pass along to them, that they knew their clear expectations right off the bat.
Right.
Now, one thing that we did have is these kids want to learn. You know what I mean? They really, really were wanting to learn.
They want to win.
That's great.
Because that's what surprised me. A couple bad seasons can bring you down. But when I showed up and was talking about what we're going to do and the things and the changes we want to make, they were listening. There were some bumps in the road. There were some extracurricular activities going on for things they weren't doing. We're doing right, and we pay for those things, and now they understand.
Yeah.
And it's just small things like even just clean the locker room. I don't like anything on the floor. I want everything in the lockers.
Yeah.
I want your cloth cleaned every Thursday. Take your shoes off when you go in. I want dirt on the floors. So I want things clean, for one, because we got to be there. So 2 days we weren't doing that stuff. So we, but now it's clean. So now you hear everybody yelling, hey, clean this up, get this picked up. So now they're communicating to each other.
That's good.
So just the small things. Those are wins. I think those are wins for us.
Absolutely right.
Taking pride. We may not have a whole lot, but what we have, take pride in it. That's what,
I tell example I use for that, Coach. You look at Israel. Israel is a small country, but they're one of the baddest countries in the world because they're better at what they do than everybody else around them. And I would always tell my football players when I coach, listen, you may line up next to, or in front of a guy that may be double your size, but if you're better at what you do than him, you can kick his butt all over the field. And I think that's kind of what you've been telling here, but the little details. Yeah. So,
Those little things, they really matter. They add up. So.
Awesome. Jordan, you got anything for Coach before we cut him loose?
How about who's going to be your offensive leader and your defensive leader on the
Well,
football team football field this year?
We have several. We have several guys. We've played a few scrimmages. Our line is anchored. I think Gage Goheen is going to be our anchor up front. He's a 3-year player. Okay. He's a tough, strong kid. Hunter Collins, our center. And he's spot on right now. And then to the right,
Played
you
with his
have
dad, Joel.
Yeah. And then you've got Bryce Lambert as a guard, and you got Landon Hypes as a tackle. Then on the other side, you have maybe Hunter Brown and Isaac McWilliams. Then our backfield, we've got Seth Lambert and Josh Clarkson. And quarterback, yeah. And then you got Kel Fott on the outside, and you got Evan Cantor on the outside. So then we got Mason Collins as a wing. That's another running back. So we can come at you in different ways.
Yeah. Lead by committee.
Lead by committee.
I like
That's
that.
exactly right.
I like that.
But I do want to give a shout out to my coaches because they've been putting in tremendous
Bring 'em
amounts of
up.
work.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
If we can get them over here, let them talk a little bit about what they've been
You want
going
to take
through.
a break, and then we'll get them over here, and they'll come back.
Okay.
Let's do that. Yeah.
Well, he's waving him. Hey, Mike, We good on? We need to take a break real
Go
quick.
to break
or?
and get the coaches over.
Okay. We'll cut to a break.
I use the restroom.
I do all right, guys?
We'll cut to a break. Be right back.
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
All right. Thanks. We're back live here at the patio in downtown Wellston. We just got a lot smaller.
Man.
Yeah.
Got a lot smaller.
You got a line with us.
So we're pleased to have the entire coaching staff here. Coach Graham, I guess, just about forced them to come up, but they're here.
Yeah, they're here. They're here for support.
Well, Coach, why don't you introduce these guys? Let us know what each one of them does, and then maybe we'll have some of them on to talk a little bit.
All right, that's why I got Coach Briggs. He's the offense coordinator. Me and him work the offense together. Got Ricky Woodruff, assistant defensive coordinator. Mike Lambert, linebacker coach, offensive line. Brian Mantell, offense, defensive line, and co-defensive coordinator. John Seitz, O-line, D-line, linebackers.
Right.
So we got a lot of linemen coaches.
That's a
Coach,
coach.
when you and I talked on the phone earlier, Coach, you're adamant about I want to get my coaches up there because
Yes.
I want to give them credit. I think a lot of times, like you said, the head coach gets all the credit, and you got these guys back here. They're what you're depending on. The success
You
of
got
your
a lot of
program
experience
is-
here.
Yeah,
I mean, you
really do.
got Wheelersburg. Brian Mantell played at Wheelersburg, and he coached here in previous years. Coach Briggs played at West. What's your sign, Coach, for Portsmouth West? West side. So, Ricky played here at Wellston. Mike, he graduated a year ahead of me in school. He graduated here from Wellston, and John Sykes played football Southwest.
So yeah, a lot of good
So we
experience.
got a lot of.
It takes a good coaching staff, not only the knowledge but just trust. You know, have that trust because the worst thing you can have during the game is this group of coaches down here bad mouthing this group of coaches. When the kids hear that, that's not good for building a program. So it's good that you guys you can trust that's not going to do that.
Right.
So it's good. So I know a lot of these guys. We know all these guys. They're all great guys.
Yeah.
They're good quality guys.
Good staff.
Oh yeah.
Great staff.
I think it's a great staff.
So Coach Briggs, I know you're coaching basketball this year and you're doing football. So how's that been so far?
I'll let you sit down here, Coach.
I kind of forgot what summers were like until I stepped back into it, but I'm enjoying it. And I've got of course, my oldest son, he plays golf. He didn't decide to follow me to the football field, but my youngest son is playing. He'll be a freshman. So it's nice being able to spend time with them in the summer and doing things that they like to do along with myself. You know, I'm having a great time doing it with them.
Well, good. It's good to have you on. How's that affected? Has it been tough to juggle summer from basketball and football?
It's like you said with coaching staff. I mean, I have a good staff I think I put in place for basketball. Some guys I've leaned on to help me when I've been over at the football field. And vice versa, when I couldn't be at the football field, you know, I knew these guys had it. So it's taken a little bit of juggling, but like I said, it's easier now that my kids are involved in it.
Right.
You know, when I did it years ago, my kids were young and they're asking me, where are you going, Dad? You know, that was a little harder. It's been easier this time around.
It's good to have you on the staff.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Absolutely. Well, we're excited. I was telling him we watched the scrimmage. I really like the offensive rotation with players. We saw Seth Lambert, Clarkson pretty much evenly split on carries.
Yep.
Trying to throw the ball. Johnny looks good running the football.
He does.
Tell us a little bit about your philosophy and some of these weapons you got and how you want to get guys in space and kind of what you're aiming to do.
Well, I mean, I think you're right. It does kind of start with quarterback play, like it does pretty much at any level. But I'm trying to let Johnny know that it's not all on his shoulders. He's a playmaker. That's what I kind of consider him at quarterback. He can run the ball. He can throw the ball when we need him to. He's getting better with his reads. But I feel like we got weapons on the perimeter. We've got some weapons inside that make us a little more difficult to defend. And, hopefully if we do a good enough job, we can, get enough touches on each kid and make not just have to defend us off tackle, but also have to defend us from sideline to sideline, which it's still a work in progress, but I think you hit the nail on the head.
They'll
We
get
got
more
multiple
comfortable as
kids.
we go.
I think so.
The more
I
reps
think
we
so.
get in.
Like you said, you got your weapons on the outside that's going to help us spread the field out.
Yeah.
It's going to make the defense guard sideline to sideline, like you were saying. So I think it's like Coach Graham said. I mean, I think you guys are going to surprise some folks this year, and I'm excited to see what's going to happen. Really am.
And it didn't look to me, I think something that we've seen in the past is sometimes things get predictable. It didn't look predictable. The scrimmage, like I said, it was a good mix of play calls. I thought, I'm of the mindset now in high school football today, you can't win if you don't at least have something that resembles a pass game. Now, you don't have to chuck it,
Right.
70% of the time. But if you can come out 25% and throw the football a little bit, and I thought you guys did a great job with that. Johnny, he'll get better as the season goes on, keeping his eyes downfield. I think that was kind of his weak spot last year. Is a little bit gun shy. Once he gets used to feeling the pressure a little bit, feeling it, not having to see it.
Those pre-snap reads and
Yep.
and just getting more comfortable back there, under pressure and
Right.
because there's going to be pressure,
Sure.
and he's athletic. He
Very
can get
athletic.
out there and make some plays.
Absolutely.
On a broken play.
Yeah,
You
he's
know what
like
I mean?
having the tailback back
Yeah.
there that can throw the ball
Yeah.
for you. Yep.
He's fun to watch.
Now, you guys have moved, I think Bennett Yadrinchek is a tight end now?
Yes.
Tell us about that move. Why'd you pull him off the wide outside and bring him back to the inside?
It just makes, for one, he's a very good blocker. I mean, he does a great
Strong
job.
kid.
He's a strong kid. He works hard. Smart kid. He picks up on plays very, very quickly. And he gives us that ability, kind of like you see, I'm not comparing what we're doing to the college or professional, but it gives you the ability to now split out your tight end as well without having to do a
Sure.
big personnel change.
Yeah.
Nice.
So if we want to go spread more, we just leave our tight end on the field and we just split him out now.
Nice.
So he gives us a little more versatility in that spot.
Awesome.
I
Like that move. I think his speed, his skill set fits that position a little
I
bit
think
more.
so.
He's got good hands.
Yes,
I
he
mean,
does.
He could always catch. So as a senior player, I'm looking forward to see how he fits in and works into this new
He
role.
can do some damage out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a
he really
couple
could.
really nice catches against
Yeah.
Rock Hill in our first scrimmage, so we have confidence in him out there.
And I'm kind of looking forward to it because Wellston in the past hasn't been that much of an air raid team, and I don't think that's what we're going to be now. But look out, because Cale Fott's a speed demon. That kid can fly, and on defense, he can hawk the ball.
Yeah, he can.
He had a nice pick in the scrimmage in the end zone. So looking for big things out of him too. Are there any other specific offensive players you want to mention or give shout outs to?
It all starts. I mean, like I said, our quarterback position, we talked about Johnny, but they know that they only look good if we're doing our job up front.
Right.
So it's our guys up front, and they're learning. We've thrown a lot at them fast. It's a whole new system, and it's taken some time. But like Coach Graham said earlier, these kids are very eager to learn. I mean, they really have been from the get-go. And, I'm pretty excited at some of the holes they were opening up in our scrimmages. Now, there were a couple times, we missed some assignments. But, man, we had 3 or 4 plays that was just one missed block away from being a big game type play. So, up front, Gage Goheen's done well. Hunter Collins at center is playing well. Bryce Lambert's picking stuff up at our other guard. We got Landon Hypes at our tackle and Isaac McWilliams at our quick tackle. They're all doing really, really well.
Nice.
I'd say, these guys are responding well because they got a good core. You guys got a good core coaching staff here, and they believe in you guys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that goes a long way, man. Because all you guys have a lot of experience.
Sure.
And these guys know that if they got a question, they can approach you. And that's pretty comfortable as a high school football player. Sometimes you don't want to come up to coach and ask a question. You know what I mean? But all you guys are probably pretty approachable. You know?
We've even joked about that. I said some of the questions they asked me, I'd have been scared to death asking my coach.
Right.
When I was there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
sometimes it's a bad thing. There's some answers I don't want to get.
Right. Yeah.
No, it's a great thing. I agree.
Well, awesome. Well, Coach, thanks for hanging out with us, man.
Thanks for having me.
We'll get some
Appreciate
defense
it.
guys on here.
Yep.
Mike, how we doing on time? We keep
Like I
going?
said, it's starting to rain. We might want to.
He says keep going, so we're not going to take a break. Can we get another chair down here? And I want to get Ricky and Coach Mantell, since you guys are the defense guys, we'll get you down here, talk a little bit of defense with us.
Don't be giving up on our schemes.
We won't ask too many questions.
Yeah.
General answers.
Are we on break?
No, we're good.
Okay.
We're still rolling.
We're still rolling. Okay.
Okay, Ricky Woodruff, you've been on the staff for a little while now. We have one offensive coordinator. We have two defensive coordinators. Can you guys tell us a little bit about your dynamic and how you guys work together?
Well, I thought it would be more difficult at first, but we all seem to mesh very, very well. So, I mean, it actually has worked out really well. Like, we don't have an issue. We meetings go a little long. Everybody's discussing everything, going over all of our options and
Crossing every
What
I,
would
dotting
work?
every T.
yeah, what would work best in each situation, and then we just come to an agreement on what would work best.
Nice. So now, do you guys split personnel groups? Do one of you take defensive backs, the other take linebackers? You mentioned you were linebackers.
No, I coach defensive line. So when we go individual defense, I have the defensive line, Coach Woodruff
And Coach
Briggs,
Briggs.
Coach the DBs, Coach Seitz and Coach Lambert have the linebackers. So those kids are all split. And then there's times when the DBs and the linebackers come together and work like 7-on-7 passing stuff. And then there's times when the linebackers and the D-line come together and we work stunts and blitzes, making sure everybody knows which direction you're going, which gap you're filling,
Sure.
and so on. And then there's team time when we all come together and the whole thing works at once.
Very good. Very good. Well, you coach track as well.
I do, yes.
So, do any of your skill sets from track translate into football?
Well, I wish we had some more of these football players who ran track, but
Yeah, that's the way it was back when we were in school. That's what I was telling the guys earlier. Everybody ran track. I don't think we had any football players playing baseball. They were all track guys.
Yeah, everybody crossed over basically.
well, we have some that don't do anything in the spring. So
We gotta change that. Get those
I'm
guys-
not trying to pluck Coach Stevens' baseball players, but
Sure.
those kids that don't play
do
a
anything.
sport
Yeah, come
in the
out.
spring. I mean, they hit the weight room, but which is great, but they can do both.
Yeah. So we're running a 3-5-3 base defense. Is that correct?
3-4.
3-4.
3-4. Okay.
3-4. Depending, and again, it depends on week to week who we're facing. We might bring the strong safety up into the box and then run the 3-5. So it really depends on game plan each week.
Nice.
If you ever pay attention to college coaches and NFL coaches, they'll say we run a 3-man front, and you watch them play a game on a Saturday or Sunday, and they're
Not
never in a
necessarily what you
3-man
see,
front.
right.
You're like, so
Scheme specific.
right.
Yeah.
Based off the opponent.
We got to adjust. If we, like 2 weeks ago, we went down and scrimmaged Rock Hill, and their coach is the legendary Bob Lutz's nephew. So if you guys don't know who Bob Lutz is, he won, I don't know if he's the winningest or second most winningest coach in high school football in Ohio, coached at Ironton, ran a full house. So when we went down there, we knew they were running 2 tight ends, full house. We can't sit in a 3-man front.
Right.
So we had to adjust a little bit, even for a scrimmage.
Yeah.
So
And you'll make those halftime
Yeah, it's
adjustments.
starting to rain.
Yeah.
We're getting to cut it off right here. The equipment's going to get all wet, so go ahead and close us out here, Pete.
Well, we hate to cut it short, guys, but Mother Nature says otherwise. So we will definitely be back. I'm sure we'll have the coaches on throughout the year. Probably won't get to do our picks this week, unfortunately. We'll make that happen. Hey, we're done. It's raining. We'll see you next week.